Good evening, I'm your host Jay Clark and welcome to the Scary Nighttime Radio Show. This program was created as an audio project for those who want to enjoy a story but are driving or otherwise unable to view the show. For the viewers on the internet, we've added pictures and videos so you can follow the story along. We hope you enjoy tonight's show, which is entitled Titanic Ghost Story.
In the early morning hours of September 1st, 1985, John and Mary Wells give birth to a son, Jonah. From a young age, Jonah's parents noticed he had a fascination with the sea and ships. When he got a little older, that interest became focused on one ship in particular, the Titanic. He came to know everything about that vessel, the iceberg, the sinking, even all about the ships that were closest to the Titanic on that fateful night. In 1997, when he was 12, his parents took him to see the movie Titanic, which he loved. He joined the Navy after graduating high school and did a 4-year stint. He received an engineering degree from Cornell University, leading to a lucrative career. In his spare time, he hosts a blog on the internet all having to do with ships, sailing, the sea and mostly the Titanic. It comes to pass that one day his former professor Amitai at Cornell summons him to a meeting to resolve some mysteries about the Titanic. Jonah travels to Cornell University to meet with the professor again.
Oh Jonah, it's so good to see you after all these years. How long has it been?
It's got to be pushing 15 years since I was here, Professor Amitai. How's the time travel device coming along? Any success yet?
Yes, I finally perfected it after all these years. Back when you attended college here, Jonah, my project was in its infancy, but now, alas, it is completed.
You want me to travel back to the Titanic on the night that it sank, don't you, Professor Amitai?
Yes, I do. When I first started constructing the time machine, had you in mind as the prime candidate to board the Titanic to alert them of the impending disaster.
If we could just go back in time to warn them and tell them the exact location of the icebergs, we could save the ship.
And all those people's lives, 1,500 of them. A lot of the world's most powerful men went down on that ship. John Jacob Astor, Benjamin Guggenheim and Isidor Straus were among them. Think of how things would have been different if all those people had lived, because of the power, influence and worldviews those rich men had. I believe we would have never gotten involved in World War I and all those people would have been saved as well.
If this works, it would change the course of history.
With your vast knowledge of the Titanic, I knew that you would be the perfect candidate. Let's go over the plan for this experiment.
The professor and Jonah spend several hours detailing the plan for the time travel event to be successful. Everything from how to dress for 1912, how to conduct oneself for that time period, etc. They develop a plan for how Jonah is to inform the crew of the icebergs, and how he is to safely return to the present day. Finally, Jonah stands in front of the time machine, wearing clothes of the pre-1920s era.
Now remember, Jonah, in order to return back to the present day, you must place this bracelet on your wrist and activate it with these buttons. It will bring you back to the present day, to this room. Hide it in your pocket for now.
And you said I only have a 5-hour window to do this. Otherwise I will be stuck in the past.
Yes, and remember that even if the mission is unsuccessful, that you activate the bracelet before the ship sinks. I want you to come back.
Yes, so do I.
The professor helps Jonah into the time machine.
I've set the time for you to arrive on the Titanic at 9:30 p.m. on April 14th, 1912. The coordinates are ready. This will give you 2 hours to warn the crew about the icebergs. And Jonah, good luck.
The professor presses some buttons on a control panel and sends Jonah back in time. Jonah finds himself aboard the Titanic. Fortunately, his arrival is unseen by anyone as he appears upon a part of the deck no one is at. He checks his pocket watch to see that it is 9:30 at night. History records that the Titanic struck the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. He has just over 2 hours. Although Jonah is thrilled that the time machine worked, he must maintain his composure and stick to the script. He looks over the side of the ship to see the name Titanic. He starts to make his way towards the lookout towers and captain's room when he passes several clusters of people here and there who are socializing about the deck. While looking up and marveling at the vast ship, he accidentally steps onto some spilled drink and slips, falling down and hitting his head. Crew members rush to his aid.
My goodness, man, are you okay, sir?
Ouch, I just whacked my head against the deck.
Maybe we should have a doctor look at that, Officer Murphy.
Yes, we should get him below deck so a doctor can take a closer look at that bump.
No, you don't understand. I have to warn the captain about icebergs.
Sir, you need to come with us. We really need to have a doctor check out your head injury. You'll need to lie down and rest for a couple hours.
No, officer, the ship is going to hit an iceberg in a couple hours.
How could you possibly know that? Can you see into the future?
No, but I sailed these waters last week and the ship I was on, the Carpathia, came close to hitting an iceberg field in the same path that we're on. We're about 2 hours out. I have the exact coordinates.
Two well-dressed men are talking to each other on a balcony just above the area with Jonah and the crew. They overhear the conversation from below.
Wilson, who is that man and how does he know about the icebergs?
I can tell he's an American by the accent. I don't know what he's up to, but I intend to find out, Mr. Aldrich.
We can't have this ruin our plans. You're a good liar, Wilson. Play the role of the good doctor and take him below to a room you can interrogate him.
Yes, Mr. Aldrich.
Wilson makes his way towards Jonah.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Smith. What seems to be the issue here?
This man hit his head really badly and needs medical attention.
Well, let me take a look at that bruise. Yes, it looks like you need some rest for the night. Gentlemen, will you escort this man to his room? I'll follow and get my medical bag.
Which room are you staying in, sir?
Room. I don't have a room.
Then what are you doing on the ship? What is your name?
Jonah Wells.
Let me see your ticket.
Well, let me see. I can't find my ticket.
Then this man is a stowaway. Officer, do you have a holding cell we can put him in for the night?
Yes, it's in the third-class area. We'll take him below now until we can sort this out in the morning.
But there won't be a morning. Don't you understand there's icebergs ahead? You must warn the captain of the icebergs.
The two men take a reluctant Jonah to the deck below to a barred holding cell where he is left alone and racking his brain for what to do now. After about half an hour he gets a visitor. It's Wilson.
Come back to look at the bump, Doc. By the way, I found my ticket. Here it is.
Oh no, I don't need that. I'm not really a doctor, either. I'm John Wilson and I work on behalf of the shipping company. I need to know how you found out about the icebergs. That Carpathia story is fake because the ship was not in these waters last week.
Well, then call me a psychic if you wish, but I see the ship striking an iceberg in a couple hours, at approximately 11:40 p.m. I've seen a vision of the future and believe me, you need to take heed.
Rubbish. I don't believe you have psychic abilities. There must be another way that you found out about the icebergs.
Are you saying you know about the icebergs too?
Don't get smart with me, of course I do. The question is, who are you and how do you know about the plan?
But if you know about the icebergs, why wouldn't you inform the captain so he could avoid the accident?
Oh, don't be so foolish, Mr. Wells. We obviously don't want to inform the captain since we want the ship to sink to the bottom of the ocean.
What are you talking about?
Oh my word, Mr. Wells. You're either playing dumb with me or that lump you took to the head really did mess up your brain functions.
Mr. Wilson, just humor me, please. Tell me what's going on with the sinking of the Titanic.
Oh, all right, I suppose it doesn't matter anyway. You won't be alive to tell anyone the story because you'll go down with the ship. You'll never leave this room. Dead men tell no tales.
Just tell me why on earth you would want the Titanic to sink.
We don't. The Titanic will sail on for years to come. We're not actually on the Titanic. This is the Olympic.
But how could that be? The name Titanic is all over the ship, including on the hull.
That's because weeks ago we switched the nameplates and every placard that said Olympic to Titanic.
But why?
For the insurance money, you see. The Olympic had a collision this past September with the cruiser HMS Hawke. The accident was blamed on the Olympic captain, so the White Star Line was faced with large legal bills and the cost of repairing the ship.
Yes, I know about the incident. The captain was Edward Smith, the same one who is piloting the ship we're on now.
You're very good. Well, it seems that the damage to the Olympic was actually worse than first thought and would cost a huge sum to adequately repair, bringing us to financial ruin. So we came up with the plan to patch up the Olympic so it was just seaworthy enough to cross the ocean disguised as the Titanic. Then after Captain Smith was coaxed into retiring to his quarters for the night, it would be deliberately rammed into an iceberg by a crewman in the North Atlantic and sink.
Then you would collect the insurance money for the shipwreck of the Titanic. The Titanic was insured for $5 million by Lloyd's of London.
I can see you have done your homework, Mr. Wells. After that, the real Titanic would sail the world for years, disguised as the Olympic, and our company would make money for decades to come off of her. By taking this action, we keep our company afloat, no pun intended.
But to let all those people die because of an insurance fraud scheme? How could you? And the bad press you would receive might ruin the company.
No, all these people won't go down with the ship. We set it up so that a rescue ship, the Californian, will be floating nearby. She will pick up passengers and transfer them over to that ship. The Californian has been loaded with food, blankets, and warm clothes. Also, the Carpathia will be nearby and aid in picking up passengers.
So you're saying there will be no loss of life as a result of the ship sinking?
Well, no, there will be a few dozen lowly grunt workers in the bowels of the ship who will be trapped in when the captain seals off the watertight compartments in an attempt to save the ship. And now you can add your name to that short list, since you know too much. You will go down as one of the few casualties the ship will suffer.
But those men have families and people who care about them. Doesn't that matter to you people?
Oh, come now, Mr. Wells. In any major operation there will be loss of life. 8 workers died while constructing the Titanic alone. What about their families? And in times of war, our side will lob strikes against the other side that result in deaths of not only the enemy soldier but innocent victims as well. The innocent deaths are what's known as, well, as
collateral damage.
Why, yes, exactly. I like that term, collateral damage. I'm going to start using that.
There aren't enough lifeboats to save everyone.
I know about the lack of lifeboats situation. That's why the rescue ships will be waiting nearby, don't you see? The Californian will be only 20 miles away. They will be the first to come to the rescue. The lifeboats will be reused as the passengers are scuttled from one ship to the other. Next, the Carpathia will arrive and give us more aid.
History will soon record that the Californian saw the distress flares and ignored them despite being only 20 miles away. The Carpathia will respond but will be too late to save anyone except basically for those already in lifeboats.
That can't be true. We have already set it up with the owners of the Californian to have the crew be on standby awaiting our distress call. The flares will be the signal to pinpoint our location and make sail towards us.
I'm telling you it's not going to happen, and the deaths of over 1,500 souls will be on your company's head.
That's not what's going to happen at all, Nostradamus. There will only be a handful of deaths. The few will have to sacrifice for the good of the many. After that, the White Star Line will profit and sail on for years to come, employing thousands of people with the means to support their families. If we don't do this, what will happen to all of these workers we have? How will they make a living for their families? Sorry about your fate. It's just business, Mr. Wells, just business.
Wilson leaves and closes the door while Jonah waits in his cell watching the time go by, edging ever closer to the time that disaster will strike the ship. Finally, a young woman named Catherine comes into the room with a meal plate.
Well, hello there, sir. I was told to bring you dinner. My name is Catherine Jacobs.
It looks like this will be my last meal ever if I don't get out of here, Miss Jacobs. I'm Jonah, by the way.
Why would it be your last meal?
I have to tell you something, Catherine, and you're not going to believe it.
Oh, try me, Jonah. I'm pretty gullible.
In about 15 minutes this ship is going to hit an iceberg and then will sink in 2 hours and 20 minutes time.
Oh my goodness, how could you know that?
I'm from the future. I've seen history already played out.
Well, I said I'm gullible, but this is a little hard to swallow. Here, let me slide your dinner plate through this slot on the bottom of your cell.
Talk about hard to swallow. What's that stuff on the side of the dinner plate?
Oh, that's cooked fish eyes. Absolutely delicious. Straight from the chef. Enjoy.
Actually, I think I might pass on those. Yuck.
Oh, come on, live a little. I've got to run. I'll be seeing you.
You will soon find out that what I'm saying about the ship is true. I hope you take heed and make it out okay.
With that, Catherine leaves and the door closes. A few minutes later, there is a thud as the ship hits the iceberg. The lights flicker. Johns bumps his head hard against the cell bars and he is knocked out cold. At around 1:45, Jonah wakes up due to the shaking of Catherine. She has unlocked the jail cell and is trying to rouse him. The floor is covered in several inches of water and the room is tilting diagonally.
Jonah, wake up. We've got to get out of here. The ship is sinking.
What? What happened? What time is it?
It's 1:45 in the morning. The ship is nearly flooded with water. You were right, Jonah. You were right. I believe you now.
The last lifeboat will be launched in 20 minutes. You need to be on it.
All the seats are taken. I already checked. There's no way out.
You must try and save yourself. Find something that can be used as a flotation device. A door, a piece of wood, furniture, anything at all.
I'm so scared that I don't know what to do.
It's broken.
Listen to me.
I don't know.
You have to pull yourself together.
Each day.
I'll help you, but we must get out of here right now.
Jonah and Catherine quickly exit the room. The hallway is flooded up to their waist in water. They make their way to a stairway and take it upwards. They find themselves on the deck. Panic is everywhere as people run up towards the stern of the tilted ship. Catherine wants to follow them. Jonah tells her that they will all die and the boat is about to split in two. He grabs her hand and they head downward away from the direction the panicked crowd is going.
Catherine, we must find something that will keep you afloat and out of the water.
Jonah spots a pile of life rings, life jackets and a couple buoys. He quickly ties these together with the ropes from the life rings. He tosses the makeshift raft into the water and grabs pieces of wood to use as paddles. The two of them swim out to the raft and climb aboard. It supports them.
I can't believe we did it, but we must paddle away from the wreckage because it's about to break in half. The force of the wave produced will knock us off into the water.
Jonah and Catherine paddle as far away from the ship as possible before becoming completely exhausted.
Okay, Catherine, I hope, we're out of harm's way. I now have to go back to my own time. My window of opportunity to return is closing in a few minutes. I only wish my mission would have been successful. I wanted to save all those people.
But instead you only saved me.
Then it was all worth it. I would do it all over again just to save you. I just noticed you brought your umbrella with you. What for?
Well, what if it starts raining? I bloody well don't want to get wet.
Jonah takes out his bracelet from his pocket and gets it turned on and ready.
Once I place this on my wrist and press the activate button, I will return to the future.
Will I ever see you again?
I'm sorry, no, we won't see each other ever again.
Then I have something to give you.
Catherine pulls Jonah to her and kisses him.
Oh Jonah, I think I'm falling in love with you.
Oh Catherine, I love you too. Maybe I should stay here with you in 1912, maybe I shouldn't go back.
Oh Jonah, as much as I would love it if you did, you don't belong in the past, you belong in the future.
I'll never forget you, Catherine.
Jonah says goodbye and attempts to place the bracelet on his wrist. Just then the ship breaks in half and a wave of water knocks over the raft and pulls both of them underwater. The bracelet is lost. Jonah swims to the surface but sees that Catherine is still underwater. He dives in an attempt to save her. He catches up with her and grabs her hand and attempts to pull her up. She struggles and they fall deeper into the sea. They are hit by some debris from the ship and are both knocked unconscious. The next thing they know, they are looking into each other's eyes. Finally, Catherine speaks.
Are we dead?
I don't know, but I guess we must be. We're under the water yet our clothes are perfectly dry and we're able to speak to each other.
And there is light where there should be only darkness. I don't feel cold or wet. Instead I feel warmth.
I don't feel fear, remorse, or sadness either. I feel at peace.
I think that we're in like a staging area or something just before heaven.
Maybe this is the place where we are waiting for our judgment to be given.
Just then a stairway to heaven appears in front of Catherine.
Yes, Catherine, you made it. There's your ticket to heaven.
Wow, it's absolutely beautiful, but where is your staircase?
Oh, I'm sure it is coming. You know that the Lord works in mysterious ways.
Yes, of course, I'll be waiting for you on the other side. I'll be seeing you, my love.
Catherine walks up the stairs. When she gets to the top, she is greeted by two angels. They start to lead her away, but then she halts them and asks about Jonah. After a lengthy discussion with the angels, Catherine walks back down the stairway to Jonah, much to his surprise.
But why, Catherine, what did you come back for? I don't understand.
Oh, don't worry, I will be going back shortly. The angels sent me back down to give you a message. I'm sorry, but there won't be a stairway to heaven for you.
But what does that mean? Am I going to hell then?
No, you won't be going there either. You're sort of in a suspended state of animation at the moment.
I don't understand. Does the Lord not want me to be with him? Have I been a bad person in this life?
What the angels told me was that because you came back in time, you haven't yet been born. Therefore you can't be accepted into heaven until you have lived your life.
But I'm here, therefore I must exist now.
You're here but not through God's plan. You went back in a time machine built by a man, Professor Amitai, to try to change history. This was not the will of God but the will of you two men.
But we did it in an attempt to save human lives. Wouldn't God look down favorably upon us for our efforts?
What you and the professor did was to act as the Almighty. Your intentions may have been good, but you were stepping into a place where mere mortals should not go. You were attempting to change the past. Only God can do that.
So what happens to me now?
You entered this time period through man-made means. The rest of us here who died that were accepted into heaven were given a spiritual light to follow. The staircase. You entered this place through man-made means, so the light that causes you to leave here will also have to be man-made.
A man-made light? I don't understand. How long will that take? How long must I wait?
I can tell you it will be years.
Years? Oh my goodness. How will I survive? Won't I get bored? Won't I go crazy?
No, because right now you're simply a ghost. Very soon your humanly thoughts will disappear completely and you will become like a soulless spirit, unable to feel boredom, fear, happiness, sadness or any other human emotion. Your spirit will wait here for the light to take you away. Until then you will become like part of the ship.
Will I ever see you again?
I can tell you that we definitely will meet again. Goodbye for now, Jonah.
Catherine then walks up the stairway and the angels lead her away. The stairways then vanish. Jonah begins to fade away as he makes his way towards the wreckage. He becomes a ghost wandering around the ship. Suddenly he feels tired and unaware of his surroundings. He starts forgetting what he's even doing there. Finally, he has no thoughts whatsoever and finds himself strolling aimlessly around the wreckage like a lost ghost. What Catherine warned him of has now happened. He becomes like part of the ship. Years go by. Decades go by. Finally, after many years of soullessness, he starts having feelings of being connected with someone or something. He doesn't have the same mind as before. It's as though he's in an early developing stage. He senses a feeling of hunger. Then shortly thereafter his hunger is satisfied. He feels a sensation of being cold, and then he is warmed. He feels a heartbeat. After roughly 9 months of having these new feelings, there is a flickering of light on September 1st of 1985. The light becomes stronger and stronger. It is the undersea submersible craft Argo, and it has found the Titanic, shining its light upon it. In the early morning hours of September 1st, 1985, John and Mary Wells give birth to a son, Jonah. After he grows up, it comes to pass that one day his former professor Amitai at Cornell summons him to a meeting.
Now remember, Jonah, in order to return back to the present day, you must place this bracelet on your wrist and activate it with these buttons.
It will never work.
A startled Jonah and the professor turn around to see Catherine.
Who are you? Where did you come from? These doors are locked. How did you get in?
My name is Catherine Jacobs. I'm an angel. I've been sent here to warn you about your time machine.
What? I don't understand. And why are you dressed like that?
I died on the Titanic.
Well, okay now, you are certainly wearing clothes of that era, as I now am, but if you are an angel, why are you here?
To stop you from re-entering this never-ending time loop that you created.
Okay, let's assume for a moment you really are an angel. Why did you say re-entering? We haven't even gone back in time once yet.
Actually, Jonah has gone back dozens of times.
Okay, now this is getting ridiculous, lady. I don't know who you really are, but obviously I would remember if I went back in time before.
Quite obviously you do not remember anything of the sort at all. Take my hands and I will show you.
What? What are you talking about?
Take my hands. Now, look into my eyes and you will see everything.
Jonah looks into her eyes and holds her hands as she instructed. Suddenly he is surrounded by scenes of the Titanic as she describes them to him.
You arrive on the boat at 9:30 p.m. on April 14, 1912. You have a fall and bang your head. You try to warn them that the ship will strike an iceberg and sink. You are accused of being a stowaway and locked up. A man with the shipping company, Wilson, claims that the Titanic was switched with the Olympic to get insurance. It will sink as a result of deliberately ramming it into an iceberg. You try to save me. We fall in love. The ship then breaks in half and we both end up drowning. I take the stairway to heaven, but because you haven't been born yet, no stairway is given to you until you have lived out your life, which means you must first wait to be reborn in 1985. Until then, you're a ghost walking aimlessly about the Titanic wreckage for decades. Now do you believe me?
Wow, oh man, this is incredible. Yes, I believe you now. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Each time you go back the same thing happens. It ends up with you drowning and then being stuck with the wreckage for decades and then being reborn in 1985. Then you grow up, meet with the professor, go back in time and do it all over again.
So we must stop this time loop cycle now so I can get on with the rest of my life. We must not use the time machine again.
Yes, you've got it.
Wow, that is amazing. I had no idea we had done this dozens of times before, but what I don't understand is why we can't go back and try it again. Now that we know what we did wrong, Jonah can avoid all those things the next time around.
Why yes of course. I can make sure I watch my step and have no accidents, avoid the conman Wilson, promptly produce a ticket and a room number so they don't lock me up and the whole thing can be different. We could still save the Titanic from sinking and I don't have to drown.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, it still won't work.
But why not? All we have to do is correct the mistakes we made the last time and then the ship could be saved this time around.
I'm afraid you don't understand. Professor Amitai, let me ask you something. Why did you build the time machine in the first place?
Well, to have the ability to travel through the past or future, to go forwards or backwards in time.
But was there one specific event that drove you on that compelled you to complete the project?
Oh, absolutely. That would be the sinking of the Titanic in April 1912. I wanted so much to go back and save the ship from disaster. I vigorously lobbied the university for funding in order to build the device. Without having the passion to save the Titanic, the machine would have never been built.
Exactly, that's precisely what I'm getting at. You see, let's say Jonah goes back in time and is successful in convincing the captain of not retiring to his quarters but staying on to steer clear of the icebergs himself. The moment that the ship avoids the iceberg and sails around it, Jonah would vanish into thin air. The ship then strikes the iceberg anyway.
But why would I disappear? Why would the ship still hit the iceberg?
Because as soon as the Titanic fails to sink in 1912, the desire to build the time machine by the professor decades later to save it wouldn't exist. It wouldn't need saving because it wouldn't have sank.
I understand now. No sinking equals no time machine.
So now without the time machine I couldn't have gone back to warn them.
Without your warning, the ship still ends up sinking just as history records it having done so. This is the paradox of time travel.
So really there is no way to change history because of the paradox created when traveling back to the past.
Yes, that's correct. Only God could change the past if he so desired to do so. Mere men simply will never have that power. The only thing you can shape is your future because it hasn't yet happened.
I'll get to work on shutting down the time machine. It is no longer useful to me.
Oh man, this is a lot to absorb. I sure wish I could go back to check out one thing now though. Wilson said the Titanic was switched with the Olympic to collect the insurance money. History records that the Olympic was sold for scrap in 1935 and completely demolished in 1937, but was it instead really the Titanic? If I could only see the ship that rests on the bottom of the Atlantic again, I could solve this mystery.
You don't need a time machine for that though.
That's right, they have submersibles that will take you on a tour of the Titanic where it rests today. We can get tickets and see it for ourselves.
And you won't affect the space-time continuum by doing that.
Let's find out when the next Titanic tour is then. Though the two ships were extremely similar, there were differences on the A and C decks. I could tell the difference if I can see it. I just have to find out the truth once and for all. I need to know. The world needs to know.